Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the show on this Tuesday, the 28th of March, 2023. Thank you for tuning in. I'm glad to have you guys here. Now, here's the thing, guys. How can I describe what a crappy situation that we're in right now in the financial system? Why we're in this situation is this is the very close and the very end of a 100-year-long Ponzi scheme that's coming to a conclusion. And, the Federal Reserve has been trying to get things back to normal to a certain degree with this fight against inflation or whatever, but nothing's working. You see, this is their balance sheet reduction right here during these months. Down, 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 down. Like they were taking $95 billion a month out of the economy. And they did it for a number of months. And during these months, I was telling you guys, I said, they cannot pull that money out of the economy. It's like a three-legged table. It's like pulling one of the legs out from underneath a three-legged table. The table's going to fall over. I said, it's coming. They're going to break something. Well, I'll move my head just a little bit. There it is. Can you see it? There's where it broke. Right there. With this banking crisis. And their balance sheet, right there, went up. Just in the past couple weeks, it's went up $400 billion on their balance sheet. So basically, this is kind of like, you guys got credit cards. Say you went out and something happened. I don't know, maybe you smashed your car into a tree. And you just send it to the body shop and get it fixed up and write it off on your credit card. How's that going to do to your finances? That's basically what they've done, is they've just papered this thing over. But what else can they do? So now they say, okay, everything's fine, the banking crisis is over, blah, blah, blah. Now we're going to go back to raising rates again, where we were. Well, what caused this problem in the first place? Is them raising interest rates. But now what they've triggered is it's not papered over. It's not fixed. It's going to get a hell of a lot worse. It's an insidious disease. And basically really what it amounts to is the Fed is actually trying to consolidate into 6 major banks into the United States. They're trying to destroy all these smaller banks. And I think it's got an awful lot to do with them wanting to introduce their central bank digital currency and wanting to have a uniform system of just 6 big banks and the Federal Reserve itself and be able to control this. And if that's true, the next thing they're going to want to do is get rid of cash. But in an inadvertent way, it's almost like they're helping the BRICS nations. The BRICS nations want nothing less, and I mean right now they're working very hard toward this. They want nothing less than to bring down the Western financial system. The United States is at the core of this Western financial system. They're tired. They're tired of producing goods and services over in the East, places like China. Factories were just humming 5 years ago in China, selling us stuff. What were they selling it for? IOUs. Basically, that's what the U.S. Treasury bond is. It's an IOU based on a currency that has no intrinsic value. In 1971, they took us off the gold standard, and the currency is only as good as the good faith of the United States government. Well, they're tired of all that. They're tired of working hard and selling us stuff, things. They sell a lot of things. I mean, you need a new part for your car. Probably got a little stamp on it that says made in China. Almost everything in Walmart. And an awful lot of other stores. It says made in China. Got a little stamp on it, made in China. Oh, what do they get in return is these IOUs. And China's got like $1 trillion worth of these IOUs sitting around, which is U.S. Treasury bonds. Uh, no, they're not going to default on these Treasury bonds if you guys are holding Treasury bonds, but your currency that underlines these Treasury bonds is going to become worthless. Practically worthless. And you know, there's two types of hyperinflation, guys. Listen, there's two types of hyperinflation. There's slow, creeping, gradually moving hyperinflations, where inflation slowly increases until it gets to a certain point where it starts to become self-perpetuating, self-feeding. And at that point forward, that's called the acceleration period. It's an early period into a hyperinflation. Before you're really into the actual hyperinflation, well, you know, it's called the acceleration phase, and I'm not sure if we're quite there yet here in the Western world. We're not quite there yet. But like I say, there's two types of hyperinflation. There's fast-moving ones and there's slow-moving ones. Well, if conditions are right, you can have a fast-moving hyperinflation. And that's what they had in Weimar, Germany. And that looks like to me like where we're headed. And I mean, you guys want to know what that's going to look like. Well, in a fast-moving hyperinflation like that, gold and silver, because they are real money, people get down to the point of poverty, and what the Weimar hyperinflation was absolutely incredible. The amount of poverty it put people tapped out. No matter how much of the actual currency they have, they can't buy hardly anything with it. Seriously, it got to the point in Weimar, Germany, where they were burning the bills in the stove. It'd take a whole wheelbarrow full of money to buy a loaf of bread. It would take. Can you imagine that here? Where if you have cash, it would take 100 pounds of cash to buy a 1 pound loaf of bread. You know? And that's what a fast moving hyperinflation can do to the currency. And this is what the BRICS nations want to see. They want to see the dollar go down in flames and their currency be worth a lot. So they're holding back the biggest financial bomb that they got right now. Russia's got like 20,000 tons of gold, and China's got like 20,000 tons of gold. 20,000 tons. And the United States says, okay, we got 7,000. Yeah, but where is it? They've never done an audit on Fort Knox. Nobody's allowed to go in and see it. We don't even know for sure if we even got that. Canada's got zero gold. They gave it all away. What are they thinking? Honest to God, they're running us down the sewer drain, guys. And so what's it going to look like for you? Well, there's going to be poverty everywhere. But gold and silver, because they're the only real money out there, and when everything else is gone, the focus comes on what's real. They're in a hyperinflation. And this happened in Weimar, Germany. I heard stories that come out of Weimar, Germany. Like one of the stories I heard was about a young man who worked at a hotel. Okay? And he was like a busboy, you know, the guys that parked the cars, and so a rich guy came in from America or whatever, and he parked his car, his limousine, and they got talking at the bar or whatever, and they made friends a little bit for some strange reason. And the American guy gave him a gold, silver coin, American silver gold coin. And this was before the hyperinflation. This big, fancy, luxurious hotel that they worked at, right? And so what happened was a hyperinflation hit and robbed the country of its wealth. But gold went to the moon. So he bought the whole hotel with that one gold coin that the guy gave him. I heard story of one guy who bought a whole city block in Berlin for 7 ounces of gold. That's the purchasing power. When all of this is focused, when a hyperinflation comes and it's all focused and the currencies become worthless and gold and silver take their moonshot, you have no idea what a moonshot it is. It's absolutely astounding and unbelievable. It doesn't last real long, this effect. But if you've got your gold and silver ready to take advantage of this effect, you can take advantage of it. You know? And so, I mean, there's people out there on the internet talking about this. You know, they're saying, well, what car would you like to have? Or what motorhome or vacation home or whatever you'd like to have after the hyperinflation hits. And yes, this is true. You can take advantage of bargains that come along from the destruction, basically, that it causes. But believe me, the BRICS nations over there are going to take advantage of it too. And they're just rubbing their hands together. And they're liking what the Fed's doing because the Fed's leading us into this hyperinflation at warp speed. I mean, inadvertently, they're helping the demise of the central bank is helping the demise of America. They're bringing us down so much faster. And I told you guys, when they were doing this, we had a fairly vibrant economy. When they were doing this, pulling the legs out from underneath it, and I told you they were going to break something. All along in here, I said, hey, they're going to break it. They're going to break it. And yeah, bang, they broke it. And now it's broken. Its back's broken. So inadvertently, I mean, they've pushed us to the point where, move my head a little bit, see it? Right up, poof! Poof! There it goes. There goes our economy. The consumers out there are tapped out. I mean, they've maxed out their credit cards. And the banks aren't lending any money, and so you cannot taper a Ponzi scheme. And so here it comes, guys. It's just around the corner because the Fed's still wanting to raise interest rates, and they're still trying to pull $95 billion. So they're giving on one hand, here's the money on one hand, and the other hand they're pulling it away. It's going to crack more. Just like I was telling you guys, it's going to crack. Now it's cracked. It's going to crack more and in a big way very, very soon. And it's going to make the Fed and the central banks capitulate. And in fact, you know, I was watching Janet Yellen, and I think she was before Congress or whatever. They were grilling them. They grill, you know. I mean, they're not like it accomplishes a whole lot. It doesn't get anybody anywhere. But they grill people like Janet Yellen and Fed Chairman Powell. They grill them. What in the heck are you doing? They say to them, you know, or basically that. I mean, it's like, what in the heck are you doing, printing all this money? That's basically the gist of it, you know. And they sit there and they hem and haw. Well, we get to. They talk a bunch of mumbo jumbo. Some of it's even incoherent while they're being grilled, you know. But then they go right back to doing what they were doing before, which is destroying the United States economy. This is all going to end very badly, guys, and very, very soon. Anyway, that's what I wanted to tell you guys. And wait for the next shoe to drop. It's probably going to drop in the next 90 days, and it's going to be vicious. And I think now, the way I'm seeing things unfold, we're headed for a rapid hyperinflation when it comes. And so your period where you can take advantage of this, if you've got gold and silver, is going to be very short indeed before they reset into some sort of. But you know, the civil, this is going to create, honest to God, this is going to create civil unrest in a massive way. And the pump is actually primed for, dare I say it, in the United States. Coming up to these elections, and there's all this debate, and we got a 50-50 divide between political parties that seems like it's almost unfixable. You know, it's almost like if you had two people in a marriage, you know, and just unfixable, they have to have a divorce. And this is almost like a divorce in politics in the United States. It was creating a division amongst the people. And then you put this stress of a massive, fast-moving hyperinflation on top of that, and an election coming in on top of that, and the Chinese wanting to go to war on top of that. You got a recipe for disaster. You got a recipe for, dare I say it, some sort of a internal conflict, a massive internal conflict within the United States between political parties that could escalate into something that resembled what hasn't happened in hundreds of years in the United States. You know, you remember the United States went through something that was called the Civil War way back when. Okay, I got to get into the markets and take a look at what's going on with gold and silver today. Silver is up 12 cents at 23.18. Taking a look at gold. Gold is taking a little bounce, $10.90 at 1967. Oh man, I'm telling you guys, 1967 was a good year. Back in those days, we had rule of law in the United States of America. We had an actual justice system that worked with the Constitution. You know? Back in those days, we had the Constitution of the United States, and a man was innocent until proven guilty in a court of law. And they had rights. People had rights. Back in those days, the police used to walk a beat. Walk up and down the street. Hello, ma'am. How are you this evening? Oh, I'm fine, thank you. I'm very polite. People were polite. The police were polite. They realized that they were public servants. I've been watching TikTok videos the last few days and watching some of the stuff's going on with the police in the United States. You know? I watched this one cop, and I'll just call him a berserker. You know? How else could I describe it? You know, he was outside the guy's car, and he said, "Show me your ID." And the guy refused for one reason or another. I don't know why. And the officer said, "You're going to jail." And then he grabbed the guy's window of his car with both of his hands. He put both of his hands on the guy's window. The guy had his window down about 4 inches, you know. He put both of his hands, both of his sets of fingers on the inside of the guy's window, and he pulled back so hard that he smashed the window into a million little pieces. And then he reached inside the car, and I just can't describe to you what went on then. He was a berserker. I mean, but I mean, just people are on the fuse. Their fuse is so short. And not just the police. It's not all their fault. It's the citizens, too. Their fuse is short because we're at the end stage of this Ponzi scheme and the pressure's coming on everybody. You know, people are, I mean, what can you do? I mean, nowadays, you try to get something done. Get on the phone. You got a problem. Say it's a problem with your credit card or whatever. You call up and you get a machine. You're talking to a machine. And the machine don't know crap. You know? And or say you got some sort of a problem where you need a government paper or whatever because they've put in all of this nonsense where you got to have a license for everything, and there's nobody working there because they're working at home and they're not really working. Government agencies and stuff. They're off having tea or whatever. They got their computer running in the other room. They call that working, you know? How do I get this thing off? That thing doesn't understand, doesn't want it. Anyway, listen, guys. Sorry for that interruption in the film footage, but anyway, I mean, I'm ranting a little bit, but you guys are all dealing with this garbage, this conversion that they're doing too rapidly, in my estimation, over into a digital system. Well, they're not there. I mean, when they really, what they want is they want to put a chip on everybody, and then I suppose things would be easier after you get your implant in the top of your head. You just go in, you sit down in a chair, and straps go around you to hold you in place so you can't move, and a giant robot comes right over the top of your head, and you hear drilling. That's it, drilling through your scalp bone. And then the next thing you know, wires are being inserted into your brain in a chip. And then you don't need papers or anything then, or anything. You don't need to go through all this rumbo jumbo or whatever. You're part of the machine. I mean, that's where they really ultimately want to go with this. They want to have a mechanized population. Mechanized in the fact that we're like a cybernetic organism, is what we are at that point. Okay, I can laugh about this stuff, but the system's going to disintegrate before they get their plans to do all this kind of stuff. Because there's no organization, or the organization and structure out there that runs now. It runs on money, and the money's worth nothing. It's going to be worth nothing very soon. So their organization is going to fall to pieces. And then where are we? Well, we're right there where the bricks are ready to scoop us up. They'll have to come in with aid. We'll all be like the starving people in the middle of nowhere that can't help ourselves. And they'll just come in and they'll bring ships in full of food they'll be feeling sorry for us. Instead of wanting to wage war with us, instead of wanting to bomb us, after the Fed's done with us, they'll be feeling sorry for us. They'll be bringing aid in. Ships of aid in to America. We're the greatest country on earth, not that long ago, and through a series of very bad leadership and the Fed, we're going to need aid. Like some impoverished country that can't take care of itself. That's where they're taking us. And you want to know who's to blame? You elected them. Okay. Enough said. Okay, taking a look at cryptocurrency today. This crap wouldn't be worth anything if it wasn't for this global Ponzi scheme. It's trying to do a job that the dollar should be doing. It's like trying to get a boy to do a man's job. But they've demasculated they've taken the dollar and they've turned it into a worthless piece of confetti through their greed and corruption. Oh my God. Bitcoin's at 27,000 and Ethereum's at 17. Imagine Bitcoin. Something from nothing. It's just a digital algorithm on a computer worth $27,000 each. What kind of a world? I mean, this is all down to what Nixon did back in 1971 when they did the Nixon shock and took us off the gold standard. That'll be remembered for the next hundreds of years. They'll look back in history books, say 50 years from now. Well, they won't have books by then. They'll go on computer and they'll read all about it, what he did, and how stupid it was. And how it finally led in the end to the American people coming right down to the lowest of the low and all these bricks being able to take over. Take over our country. This is what they want to do. They want a new world order. They're going to run it. And what do you think our job's going to be? Our job's going to be what their job used to be. They're going to reverse places with us. We're going to be the slaves that have to go into the sweatshops every day and work our brains out just for a mere pittance. You know, you've heard about these countries where people have to work for $2 a day, all day long, making shoes or whatever, in the hot sun. Well, that's where we're headed. we're going to be on. And look, if you want to be a little bit higher up than the other guys, and it's not the dollars that's going to do it for you, because the dollar's going to be destroyed. It's your gold and silver, because gold and silver is what the bricks are going with. What can I say? We are a hot mess over here, and if you're a hot mess and you cannot get your act together enough to fight off the enemy, and the enemy is getting organized. Yeah, they want. They want to take us down. They're over there right now, and they know it's costing us a lot of money to wage these wars. And money is not money, and they know that it's going to take the system down. They just got to keep the pressure on us. That's all they got to do. They're ganging up, and they just got to keep the pressure on. And we're going to melt. And I mean, it don't look good, but I'm telling you guys, just the way it is. Unless we have somebody, unless somebody steps up and is able to do some very, very things to organize us and get us back on track again. And I don't see anything on the horizon that's going to get us back on track. It's just a downhill, slippery slope from here. I've had my little rant. Okay, so let's talk about stock market today. Let's look at the S&P 500. It's down 3.43 points at 3974. Taking a look now at the Dow Jones Industrial Average, it's up 90 points on the day. The stock markets are all scrambled too. They don't know which way to go, and so basically they've been holding pat for a number of months. They're aimless in their direction. 32,522 for the Dow Jones. You can see it here. Just take a look. You can see this. We had these peaks. 36,700 and whatever. But if you go back, I think there's other peaks along in here where it hasn't been going nowhere. I mean, this is way back, looking back here at the 5th month of 2021, like a couple years ago, and it's just been bouncing along. It don't know where to go. It doesn't know what to do. It doesn't know if it's going to be inflation, it's going to be deflation, the Fed's going to pivot, the Fed's not going to pivot, blah, blah, blah. The market's gone harebrained right now, but it will decide a direction. Some of the best performing stock markets in the world are stock markets during a hyperinflation. Because the stock market can hyperinflate too, to the upside. Not that it counts for anything, because it's all denominated in dollars. Again. And what's a billion times zero? Zero. So you hear the dollar's going to go to zero. An awful lot of people, they cannot get their heads really around that. They're like, what does that really mean, a dollar going to zero? It means if I have $1 million, it's worth nothing? That's exactly what it means. But you guys out there, just think what you can buy with a dollar right now. Think how much silver you could buy with $1 million right now. And if the dollar goes to zero and you can't buy anything with it, and that happens suddenly over a period of, say, 10 months or something, just think about that for a minute. Think about that, what that could do to your friend next door. Maybe your friend next door's got $1 million in the bank, and maybe you only got 2,000 in the bank, and you're living from paycheck to paycheck. And you envy your friend. He's got a big boat. Oh, I'd love to have a boat like that. And look at his new car. He got $1 million in the bank, and his house is a lot nicer than mine. You look at him, right? But he's all in dollars. Hasn't made the final payments on his boat or whatever, in his car or whatever, And you just, by putting away a little bit of silver, even if it's only 100 ounces, you might be better off than him. in just a year or two from now. That's the power of silver and gold, especially in a hyperinflation. Yes, it is that powerful. And forget about what these people out there say. Oh, they're guessing. The silver will go up to 500. Silver will go up to 1,000. Silver will go up to 200. Some of them more conservative. Silver will go up to 50. Silver and gold can go up so high, and this is what I'm telling you, that you can't price it in the fiat currency. So you can't put a price on it because it's real money. Again, I have to go back and say 1,000,000 times 0 is still 0. You know, bonds and rates today. We're looking at rising yields here. We're looking at the U.S. 30 years up 7 basis points again. We're looking at 3.76 on the U.S. 30 year, and the 10 years at 3.55, and it's up 3.6 basis points. And finishing off with the U.S. dollar index, which is at 102.45, and it's going along sideways. Thank you guys for listening to my show. We'll catch you guys in the next one. You guys have a great afternoon today. Bye-bye.